I guess hello everybody. I think our break is now over, and we're going to start our next session with Sindhu Raghavan. And Sindhu is uh, currently leads machine learning efforts for machine learning problems in online advertising at Apple. And prior to joining Apple, Sindhu has held ML research and engineering positions at Pinterest, Curai, Netflix, and Samsung Research, and she holds a PhD in machine learning from UT Austin, and her work spans across several areas of machine learning, including online advertising, large-scale recommender systems, deep learning, and statistical relational learning. And now her session will be going over 10 nuggets from her journey in AI and ML. So yeah, you can get started.
Thank you so much, Neha, for a wonderful introduction. Hey, everyone. My name is Sindhu, and I am super excited to be here to share my learnings, which I call, nuggets from my journey in AI/ML. As Neha introduced me, I am currently with Apple. I'm an engineering manager there, and I lead teams, machine learning teams that build machine learning systems for online advertising. Here's a really brief overview of my journey, my trajectory. So I started my journey as a student of computer science. I got my undergraduate degree in computer science and engineering in India, after which I spent about 4 years working in various different roles as a software engineer. And then I enrolled myself into a PhD program at University of Texas at Austin, and I got my PhD in computer science with focus in machine learning and AI. After that, I've held various different roles, as you can see from this trajectory, as a researcher, as a research engineer, and later on, I transitioned into engineering leadership for the last 4.5 to 5 years. I've been leading machine learning teams that are building machine learning systems to solve really hard problems, business problems, and the last 3 years being mostly focused in the online advertising space. My first learning and my first nugget is really to discover your passion. If you look at my journey, my trajectory, it's not been linear, and it seldom is. And whenever I have felt like I've been less fulfilled with what I've been doing with the roles, I've allowed myself to experiment and explore other roles until I found something that I was really, really passionate about. So my first eureka moment came when I was in grad school and I took the grad course on machine learning. When I joined grad school, I was actually thinking of doing my PhD, my research in computational biology, and I had spent a year working on my research in computational biology. It's when I took this grad course in machine learning, that's when I just fell in love with the area, and I said, hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I just decided to kind of throw away 1 year of my research work. I said, I'm willing to start my PhD research from scratch. And it's been no looking back since then. I've been super happy and fulfilled with, what I'm doing in, the area of machine learning and AI. My second eureka moment came when I joined Netflix and I started to work on large scale machine learning problems like recommender system. And I just fell in love with the challenges that the scale of the data brings and also the immediate impact that I could see from my work on end users. And ever since then, I've been, gravitating towards problems that where, I can work on building machine learning systems that have a direct impact to end users. And my third eureka moment came when I transitioned into engineering leadership. I continued to work in machine learning. I lead teams that build machine learning systems to solve really hard business problems. I also realized how much I enjoy working with people. We're taking them through their career journeys, coaching them, getting them from one place to another. And this is immensely fulfilling for me. And the reason why I say this has been, profound learning for me, and this is why I want to drive home this as a nugget is a lot of the times your passion for an area, passion for a problem acts as an anchor throughout your career, throughout your journey. And it kind of helps you when things are hard, when you're navigating difficult challenges, ambiguities. It acts as an anchor you can keep coming back to, and it can keep you going. And that's really my first nugget. My second one is to focus on foundations. Specifically, when we think about ML and AI, that landscape is changing by the minute. And today, all we hear about is things like foundation models, large language models, and deep learning, and so on and so forth, right? And it's very, very easy to get carried away by these and maybe just focus on these. But this is where I would say that it's really important to kind of focus on foundations, more foundations, fundamental approaches that are sort of like the bedrock of machine learning. Things like logistic regression, linear regression, gradient boosting, matrix factorization, or gradient optimization. These are all really, really important, and a lot of the newer approaches kind of like build on top of these. And also, these foundations are important, and these simpler approaches and having a good understanding of them are important, because not all problems in the industry, or that you try to kind of solve using machine learning, need the heavy hammer of these heavy, high performant models. And then there are other foundational aspects of machine learning, like how do you split your data into training and test sets? How do you design your experimental methodology? What type of metrics you want to use? All of these are like really, really important, in terms of the foundations, because a lot of the times I've seen that people struggle with, the data pre-processing, and with machine learning, we know that garbage in, garbage out. So really being able to understand these foundations and build on top of these is really, really important. So my third nugget is really to hone your craft. What does it mean? When you think of machine learning these days, it's very commoditized. You have open source toolkits, you have pre-trained models readily available, you have code snippets available on the internet. It's really easy to take all these and build a model and see what happens, and it's super exciting. But a lot of the times when you take these and apply it to a business problem, it seldom works. And this is where you need to start opening up the box. You need to go under the hood and start looking at what's happening, basically tweaking your mini batch sizes, tweaking your optimization. And a lot of the times, the actual work that goes into building a really good machine learning model involves a lot of like parameter tuning, fine tuning, which is sort of like part art and part science, I would say. And this is where you kind of like go from having that more academic textbook knowledge of your foundations to being able to use them for solving these business problems. There is quite a bit of a leap over there, and that I would really, kind of put this under the nugget of honing your craft of, how do you actually solve problems through machine learning. And the other aspect of this is to really understand your business, the business problem you're trying to solve, the domain. Developing a deep domain expertise can actually help you build the right kind of machine learning solutions to the problem that you're actually trying to solve. And that's really my third nugget. Okay, the fourth one is one of my more favorite ones, and also something I constantly struggle with, which is silence your inner critic. Now, if you look at the pace at which the literature and machine learning is, going, and with respect to the developments, it's like you have new papers, new research coming out constantly. it's really hard to keep up with all of these. And many a time I felt like, am I missing out on things? Am I losing my edge because I'm not doing research in a particular area? And this is where I say we have to be very mindful and silence our inner critics, because once you have your foundations right, it's easy to kind of build on these foundations. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of learning. There will be that learning curve, but that doesn't mean that you cannot actually go into a newer space in machine learning and master it. And this also applies to things like, do you need a specific degree? Do you need to have a PhD? I don't believe so. I don't believe that you need to have any of this. I think what you need to have is a good understanding of foundations and being able to kind of work through the ambiguities, when you're learning this new area. So my fifth nugget is to really focus on learnings and not outcomes. While this is generally applicable regardless of what you work on and whatnot, there is a direct relationship to machine learning. ML is an experimental science, which basically means that unlike, say, conventional software engineering, if you spend like a week building a model, there is no guarantee that that model will give you the outcome or like a certain satisfactory performance that you need. A lot of the times, the progress in machine learning is very incremental. Improvements are incremental. And a lot of the times we need to be really okay with having those 2%, 3% sort of like incremental improvements, and over time they add up to something that is more significant, meaningful. But really the key is to actually focus on the learnings. Each time you build a model, you train a model, there is some part of your test set where the model is performing really well. Now try to understand why the model is performing well there. Now there is a part of your evaluation space where the model is not doing well. Now let's try to understand why it's not doing well. And it's these learnings that help us to kind of devise the next set of strategies and what we need to do to incrementally improve the model. Which is why this is something that I'm going to emphasize on, is to constantly focus on learnings and not outcomes. Otherwise, a lot of the times I've seen folks feeling very disappointed where you end up training your model, first model, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they say, hey, look, it's like I've spent 3 weeks and I still don't have anything to ship. But if I had done a more conventional software engineering project, I would have built this, and there would be something more tangible to show, which is where we need to use a completely different lens when you're working in machine learning, and how you actually look at progress when you're working on machine learning projects. My sixth nugget in learning is really embrace ambiguity, and this is directly connected to what I mentioned earlier. Machine learning is an experimental science, so there is inherent ambiguity at the outset of the project. I don't think anybody can say what type of performance their model can drive. Is it 70%, 80% accuracy? We don't know. Unless and until you build your first model, just understand the problem space, it is very hard to actually say, what the outcome would be and how long it would take to drive certain outcomes. And this ambiguity can impact on several different things, right? One impact is, when you're working with cross-functional stakeholders, when people, when the typical approach to working is to come up with timelines, say this is how long it takes, this is how much we will be driving from a performance standpoint, there's always an ambiguity and an ambiguous response that you might end up having to give, right? So this would impact from a communication and from a working relation standpoint with your stakeholders. This is where I would say everyone should use a slightly different lens when you're looking at machine learning projects. And this also from an individual, progress standpoint, it's like if we do not have embrace this ambiguity, you would almost always feel like you're not making progress. But in fact, which is not true, it's the incremental progress is really what, one should be looking at. And just say that, yes, there will be ambiguity. There will be times when I do not know, but it is okay. It is okay. And, we'll keep pushing on until we get the outcomes that we desire. So my seventh nugget or learning is, to really focus on becoming a storyteller. And communication is important regardless, any role, any aspect of your life. But for machine learning, what it actually means is, to actually support a machine learning feature in a product, a lot of the teams, several different teams come together. There's the machine learning scientists or engineers. We have data engineers who provide us the right kind of data to train the models. We have machine learning platform engineers who build out the platform where we integrate our machine learning models. We have our feature stores where we run inference, right? And a lot of the times, the machine learning features themselves are directly driving some business outcomes, which means you're working with product and, a lot of like cross-functional folks, data analysts. And this is where communication and how you communicate matters a lot. There is that storytelling aspect of it. One is in terms of, the ambiguity piece around machine learning and how should you actually view machine learning projects, machine learning progress is one thing. The next piece is around, the technical aspects of machine learning and how do you communicate to non-functional experts when you're working with so many different, people from so many different functions, right? Even simple things like how is your model, behaving? Why is your model performing well or not performing well? How do you describe this in a layman's terms? And a lot of the times we can get caught up in a lot of low level details by saying the model is overfitting or this parameter needs to be tweaked or tuned or this mini batch needs to be, changed or whatever, right? But what does this even mean from the final model behavior standpoint or performance standpoint, or what it means, from a stakeholder standpoint, right? This is where the art of storytelling, the art of like taking these very low level technical details and trying to kind of like, what do you say, lift them up to a higher level, abstract them out, and be able to share them with your partners becomes extremely critical and crucial for machine learning. So my eighth nugget is build your relationships, focus on building your relationships, partnerships. As I mentioned, for machine learning, you have several different teams that come together to ship a machine learning feature in production. And you are not only having to work with people from different functions. So taking a step back, right? Like any project is, and when you're like shipping any project or when you're driving any outcomes, it's always teamwork. You're not working alone, so we know that, it's like teamwork and collaboration is necessary. But for machine learning, you need to be able to go across your team boundaries, be able to build those relationships, partnerships with all of your cross-functional stakeholders, be able to kind of like, talk in a language that everyone can understand. And for things like machine learning, platform building, a lot of the times, ML scientists and ML platform engineers, you have to work hand in hand because for machine learning models to be supported in production, machine learning scientists they play a fundamental crucial role in defining the requirements, telling the platform engineers what we need. And similarly, it's really important to kind of understand some of the engineering challenges. So all of this requires, being able to work with people from different functions and being able to build those healthy collaborative relationships with people. And that's really sort of like, what I have learned over time is that ML cannot survive in a product in silo by itself. It takes a lot of different teams to actually support shipping machine learning features into production. So my ninth nuggets, this is not so much my nugget, but something that I have been hugely influenced by, and something that this is also my favorite sort of like nugget, is build your board of directors. This is something that I have taken from Deborah Liu's book, Take Back Your Power. I believe Deborah coined this, this phrase, building your board of directors. When these are your board of directors are people, your mentors, your coaches, your sponsors, who kind of help you throughout your career journey, who advocate for you, who act as sponsors when you're not in the room. They help you take from one place to another. Because over the years, I've realized that career advancement is not possible without sponsorship. Sponsorship is crucial, critical for career advancement. And if I look back at my career, and if I look back at all the times when there's been somebody advocating for me, somebody saying, hey, she can do it, or I would like to, sponsor this person for this role, right? I can see like how much, folks have actually helped me come this far. And this, I would say, it's never too early, or it's never too late to kind of start building your board of directors who can help you in your career journey. Well, last but not the least, I would say keep learning. Learning is continuous, and have fun. Stay very curious, ask lots of questions. There is no such thing as good or a bad question, and just keep learning. And that's just going to be like very fulfilling throughout your journey. With that, I am ready for questions.
Thank you so much, Sindhu, for this wonderful presentation. I guess one thing would be, what would you consider for you as the nugget that helped you in your career the most?
I can definitely tell you what I've realized is probably the most crucial. It is building your board of directors. It is getting, those people, the sponsors, your mentors, your coaches, who can really, really help you along the way. I feel like just when I've realized, when there have been times when I have felt like I felt less fulfilled, or I've dealt with ambiguities and challenges. And when I've not had those mentors, it's like it seemed a lot more challenging. Or when I look back at those times, it's like going through those challenges. I was fraught with anxiety, or worrying about like, hey, can I overcome this or not, right? But then when I look back at times when I have constantly had mentors who are guiding me, that whole process, that journey, it seems a lot more sweeter, where somebody, someone has your back, right? You can always go back to someone and like soundboard with them. So I would say that's been my sort of like key takeaway.
All right. Yeah, I think that was a really great point about, I think, board of directors. I think that will be helpful, especially for younger people in the future. And I think that would be it for the questions. And yeah, thank you so much, Sindhu, for this amazing presentation. And I like how you use the idea of nuggets to explain your takeaways in your career. Oh, I forgot the video. Okay.
Thank you.